Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll be reviewing something a little more unique, and it's going to be all of these small figures from Chap. Now, these smaller animal toys are usually accessories that come with the big playsets. They're made out of a solid material in contrast to the larger figures, which are hollow and have a mechanical action feature. As you can see here, we've got a variety of animals, mainly dinosaurs and marine life. So we're going to dive in by taking a look at the dinosaurs first, because I'm pretty sure that's what you guys are mainly here for. First, we have these baby T-Rexes. There's 3 different color variants. This first one is pretty lame, it's just straight up yellow and blue. And these next two have better coloration, a black striping, this one is a light blue, and this one is green. Now, when you look at the sculpt, the boxy head, the freakishly long arms, and the pose, you may be wondering, why does this look so familiar? Well, it's because this toy is a copy of the Hasbro Mini T-Rex. This mold was actually first released in, I think, 2001 with the Jurassic Park 3 toy line. Once you put the two figures side by side, you'll see lots of similarities. Since these are small toys from Chap, don't expect a lot of detailing. But I will say, for the puny size, these figures have decent detailing. Next up, we have this baby Triceratops, which pretty much looks like an evil version of Sarah from The Land Before Time. And those are some pretty big horns for a baby dinosaur. And then there's these osteoderms, armor plating going down the back, which makes it look very retro. So yeah, not much else to say about this one, other than it's very ugly. Speaking of ugly, we've got this abomination. Chap claims that this is a Carnotaurus. This does not look like a Carnotaurus at all. With the nasal horn, I'm pretty sure whoever made this confused Ceratosaurus with Carnotaurus. And at the same time, this looks like a freaking dragon. Just look at the arms, the hands, the teeth, the eyes, and the horns. But I will say, the detailing is pretty decent, especially with the spikes and the armor, and I quite like the colors. It reminds me of the Disney dinosaur Carnotaurus. But overall, not liking this one too much. Next, we have the Ornithosaurus. Now, I think that this is one of the better looking mini dinosaur molds from Chap. It is still stylized, but not to the extent of some of the other ones, like the quote-unquote Carnotaurus. There's proto feathers on the tail, the arms, and on the neck. One feature you may immediately notice is the nose crest. Of course, Ornithosaurus never had this, but it's still great to see a Walking with Dinosaurs inspired Ornithosaurus figure. I really like the color scheme of this one, loving the mixture of beige, black, and red. This one was released in the Dino Valley toy lines, which was years ago, and it's cast in a very soft, rubbery material. So this sculpt would be reused in the Animal Planet toy line, where it would be cast in a stiffer plastic. The color scheme is still cool, but not as good as this one. And if you guys remember, one of the very first videos on my channel was the Animal Planet Parasaurolophus set, and this figure was included in that set. Now there was one more color variant of this sculpt, but it was very bland and boring. It was just straight up neon green and a brownish purple. Here is an Oviraptor, which is halfway decent, but nothing too special. I do like the color scheme though. The sandy brown mixed with the black, the blue, the orange crest, and the green eye. Now this one did come with an egg. You can see the peg that holds the egg, but I remember when I was younger, I didn't like how the egg was stuck to the hand, so I took it off. And with the egg, this figure does somewhat resemble the Papo Oviraptor. Up next, we've got a little Amargasaurus. Once again, I love the colors. Red, black, and blue look great together, but the sculpt is just hideous. I mean, just look at the head. It looks like a reptilian horse. And of course, it's got the elephantine feet, and there's only one row of spikes going down the neck, as opposed to the 2 rows that Amargasaurus is known for. Chap did make a larger mechanical Amargasaurus toy, which was slightly better than this one. Here is a Dilophosaurus, clearly Jurassic Park inspired by looking at the frill. And I really do not like this one. ugly sculpt, and ugly paint job. And why does it only have one crest? Dilophosaurus literally means two-crested lizard. And why does it have a sail? Is this supposed to be a hybrid? A Spinolophosaurus, maybe? I don't know. I don't want to bother with this one any longer. This next one is quite unique. It's a terror bird. Now, when it was first released in the Dino Valley toy lines, it was called a Diatryma, of course, now known as Gastornis. But when it was re-released in the Animal Planet toy lines, it was called a Forasrachos. But by looking at the sculpt, this resembles neither of those birds. And with the big head, it more closely resembles Titanus. And yeah, of course, despite these stylizations, such as having teeth inside the beak, for some reason I really like it. It's one of my favorites of these minifigures. I love the penguin color scheme, the orange beak, the white head, and the black body, and the feather detailing is pretty neat as well. Next, we have a small pterosaur, probably Ornithosaurus or Tropionathus. So we've got two color variants. I'm not a huge fan of this one, and despite this one having less patterns, I do like this one more. The combination of red and black is pretty cool, and as you can see, I lost the tail. Now looking at this one, I do like the head sculpt. It looks quite neat, but just look at the body. It looks like a mixture of a dragon and a bat. I don't know, just like the Dilophosaurus, I don't want to talk about it any longer. Next up is one of my favorites, the Plesiosaurus, which just looks like the stereotypical depictions of the Loch Ness Monster. Now this one has some pretty cool stylizations, the eel-like tail, the spikes, the thick crocodilian-like scales, and the vertically posed neck, which is something no plesiosaur can achieve in real life. And this looks like something you would see in a sci-fi flick. And the teal color scheme is wonderful as well. It really reminds me of Maelstrom from Ice Age The Meltdown. Lastly, for the prehistoric animals, we've got another marine reptile, the Ichthysaur Optimosaurus. Now, I actually think that this is the best out of all the mini Chap-made prehistoric animals. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have the counter shading, but the red coloration still is well done. I like how there's a black line separating the dorsal color and the bottom color. And they even included the signature physical feature of Optimosaurus, the proportionally huge eyes. And for the body proportions, they don't look too exaggerated. I mean, the head may be a little bit oversized, and when you look at it from the top, it's a little bit narrow. They could have made it a little bit beefier. But this is still a breath of fresh air from after seeing those other ugly ones, like the Dilophosaurus, the Amargasaurus, the Pterosaur, the Triceratops, and the Tyrannosaurus. It's time to move on to the marine life. Now, even though there may not be as many, overall, I think that these are much better than the prehistoric animals. First up for the sea life, we've got a tiger shark. Now this is very well done, especially for Chap-May. The color scheme is pretty accurate, the white underbelly, the dark brown, and the black striping. And the proportions look pretty good, and no super exaggerated features. This next one is another cartilaginous fish, a stingray. I don't know which species, there's lots of stingray species. The sculpt on this one is very nice, the pose is quite fluid as well. Here it is from the underside, and the paint applications of the black dots is very nice. You can see that there is no defects at all. Here is the smallest of all these minifigures, a Bluefin Tuna. And despite its puny size, I still think that the sculpt and detailing is pretty good. This is yet another awesome one, the Great Barracuda. Lovely scalation and paint job on this one. Now this is a miniature version of the mechanical Barracuda, which has the chomping jaw feature. Right here, we have a deep sea fish. When it was first released in the Animal Planet Liopleurodon set, it was called an anglerfish. But when it was re-released in another playset, it was called a viperfish. But it's certainly a viperfish based on its long, slender body plan. Just like the Barracuda, amazing sculpt, detailing, and paint job. Here is a spider crab. pretty good looking. With the detailing and the colors, not much else to say about it, other than it's kind of making me hungry for snow crabs. And lastly, for the marine life, we've got a sea turtle, probably a loggerhead sea turtle. So it looks like what it's supposed to represent, but unlike the other minifigures, this one is made out of a hollow, thin plastic, and it kind of feels fragile, to be honest. Last but not least are these two wolves. This first variant is probably meant to represent a gray wolf with the gray on the top and the beige on the underside. The head is kind of stylized. You can see how big and mean the eyes look and how exposed the teeth are. I prefer the second variant. It's almost completely black with some white dry brushing on the top and solid green eyes. If you guys watched Primal, you'll know that in the episode Coven of the Damned, the witch leader transforms into a giant black wolf with green eyes to battle Fang, and that is what this little figure reminds me of. Or I should say, that primal creature resembles this figure, since this was featured in a Chap pirate set that came out way before Primal did. Well, there you have it, everyone. That was my review on these Chap minifigures. Some are really good, some are okay, and some are just straight up terrible. These, in my opinion, are the best ones, and the ones I recommend you getting if you want to add some of these to your collection. For a quick size comparison, to give you an idea of how big these small figures are, here is the Collecte Xiphactinus and the Collecte Mini Xiphactinus, the Mattel Robert Muldoon, and the Hammond Collection Ceratosaurus. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe. It really supports my channel. And I will see you all in the next video.